Yo, what's going on, Blackish University? It's your boy B back again. I wanted to go over a really important topic today. It's one that I go over with my own teams. It's what to do when you're pulled over by the police, right? I'm from the inner city of Chicago. This is something where a lot of people actually fear for their life. You know, and if you're not a minority, you're a non-person of color, a lot of people don't understand this. But cops were the original thugs in a lot of our areas. We just had horrible encounters with them. Even someone who's not a thug. You know, I had an incident once where I called the police on an accident that I saw, and while I was waving the police down, they came, threw me on the ground for an hour, and they cut open the back seats of a Mercedes I had at the time, just thinking I must have been selling drugs if I had a Mercedes. They didn't stop and think that I owned a marketing firm that had over 20 employees in the Chicagoland area. So it's something where we encounters like that make you not want to deal with the police. So when you're just driving, you're minding your own business, and you see lights flashing, a lot of people don't know how to act. And as you can see with a lot of, there was a lot of light shed on some of the more recent events where people die. People never make it back home after a simple traffic stop. And this has been going on for a long time. Even before Rodney King, who remembers the race riots in 1992. You know, this is something that's just, there's been a lot more light shine on police brutality and encounters with the police because of social media. So I wanted to take some time to go over what are your rights when you're pulled over. And now, first thing that you normally hear officers say when you get pulled over and there's any sort of a scene, they say, hey, no recording, put your phones away. Well, here in Chicago, Illinois, but officer consent is not required for recording, okay? Now, Illinois is what was considered a two-party consent state, which in basic terms just means that, it needs two parties that need to consent for the recording. But the ACLU actually challenged that in 2012. And basically, they wanted to implement what they call a cop watching program without risking prosecution. So actually, 2 years later, that would be 2014 timeframe, there was actually a new eavesdropping law that was passed that allows citizens to record public conversations, okay? And those include those involving police without the two-party consent requirement. So the new law does still require the two-party consent requirement for conversations where people, anyone involved has a reasonable expectation of privacy. So let's say if you were having an argument with your baby mama, right, and you got the phone out and you're like, you hear what she said? She smokes weed. I know, I can use it in court now. No, you can't do that. You still need to have her permission. But, of course, this exception does not apply to on-duty police officers who are performing their duties in public. So remember, in Chicago, it is okay to have your phone out and trying to hold the police accountable or getting a video of the situation. Now, when you're stopped by the cops, it's important that you remember this. Anything that you say can and will probably be used against you. If you don't incriminate yourself, a police officer is going to have an uphill task of wrongly accusing you of a crime. So remember that you have what you call the right to remain silent. And it's important that you vocalize that. Now, if you don't ask if you're free to go at any time, police officers also might think that you're remaining voluntarily who would do such a thing, right? But it's really important also that you say that you're not answering any questions. And throughout the process of you getting pulled over, you ask if you're free to go, or you mention that you have somewhere to go. And all of this is more or less strategic. It's something that we can use to fight this in court. So listen closely. This is really good information. I'm not sure that you guys might have been presented this information before like this in a way where we can talk kind of like, yo, what if I am riding dirty, right? What if I don't have my license, but I had to go pick up my kid? We all know how it is. Things happen. This is a judgment-free zone. But one thing that you have to remember is that you have a right not to be searched unless the officer has a search warrant. And that's something that's normally signed by a judge. It's something that he probably won't have when he's just pulling you over from some traffic violation. So if an officer pulls you over and they ask your permission, they want to have your permission to search the vehicle, politely decline. The officer, one, wouldn't be asking you if he had the right to search you. So remember that. If you're dumb enough to be drinking a beer or smoking a bee, then he has probable cause, right? He saw something, and a court's going to take his word over yours that even if you eat the bee, that he has the right to then search the vehicle. But if you're just pulled over, you're going a little faster than you thought, he pulled up behind you, he put the lights on, he does not have the right to search your vehicle. Okay, so, but it's very important that you say this in a polite way. And I can't emphasize that more. I go over this. I'll speak on this a bit later. But your biggest, what you should be thinking about is making it home safe. Okay, nobody thinks they're going to get killed by the police. It's just something that happens when there's a disconnect with the information. So right now, your biggest thing should be staying calm. Now, if a police officer ignores your wishes and they carry out a search, you should still firmly say that you do not consent to a search. Now, in today's world, it's not like it was back in the 70s, 80s, or even 90s. Most police have body cams. They also have dash cams on their rearview mirrors that will record the audio and video of the situation. So it's very important to be vocal that you are declining. You do not want to search. Now, a law enforcement officer, they do have the right to pat you down to feel for weapons, especially if you're outside of the vehicle. But he's not allowed to go in your pockets, and they're not allowed to pull out any property. You don't have to remove anything from your pockets. You don't have to take your shoes and socks off. When you're getting stopped, you're in the car, they typically have witnessed a traffic violation, or they witness other driving behavior that's suggests to them that a crime has occurred or is about to occur. The most important right, again, is your right to remain silent. Now, there was a case in 2013. This is the case Salinas versus Texas, which basically established that a defendant must invoke his or her right to remain silent to benefit from it. I know that can be a bit confusing, but it basically means that you need to tell an officer that you are going to remain silent and then say nothing further. Most states have laws that require any driver to produce a valid driver's license, valid proof of insurance during a traffic stop. It's just important. It's important here. Don't be petty, right? Don't give them attitude. That's how drama happens. Just give them your stuff and live to fight another day. Continue on your way. Remember, most officers, and officers, I hope you can get it together too, but most officers are really just trying to do their jobs. I know a lot of troopers. I'm an old fraternity guy. I got a lot of guys that are Chicago police officers. And when I get with them, I'm like, bro, what's up? You guys shooting people that look like us now? What's your problem, bro? And from what I understand, most officers are trying to do well. But what I also understand is most officers know who the bad officers are. That's not cool either. So, and that's something maybe that we can address at a later time. But again, remember that everything you say and everything you do is going to be used against you. So don't make any statements to the police officer about the incident for which you're being stopped. Okay? The next best rule. Never again consent to any searches. And it's important that it's a search of your person or a search of the vehicle. Now, if you refuse consent, the police cannot use that information against you in court. They can't say that you failed to consent, so you more than likely had XYZ. Okay, so always remember that. It is not okay. And I always get a very good question when I'm talking with friends, and even in songs, 99, but Jan 1, if you have a girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. They say, well, what happens when they say, okay, you don't want to let us search your car? I'm going to make a call and I'm going to get the drug dogs. Well, we can't really control what the police decide to do or not do to further their investigation. But as much as an officer might try to make you think that he's the man and he's making these calls and he can make all this, I'll get the SWAT team here. I don't know. You might need to make 2 or 3 calls before you can hit that button. I don't know if you have access to that, but as much as they might make you think, he can't just go rogue, right? There's only, if he's pulling you over especially, he's probably lower on the totem pole to begin with. He's not a detective. He's probably not some administrative person. He's going to have to radio for these dogs, and he can't just do that with everyone that he encounters. So listen closely. Now, I'm going to give you guys some tips here. And again, don't say, yo, B in Blackish University were telling me how to break the law. No. Again, you want to be legit as much as you can. But I know we've all been there, right? You get your license suspended. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes it could be child support. Sometimes it could be failure to repair. Something that, for whatever reason, you might just have a bowl in the car. You might have something. Just remember, you reply with, sir, you do not have permission to search my car. Now, instead of doing that, many people at this point, for whatever reason, these cops seem to treat it, and I'm sure this is a method that they have where they kind of imply that you'll get a slap on the wrist if you tell them what's going on. They're like, just let us know. If you got weed in the car, if it's just a blunt or so, I really don't care, but don't let me find it on my own. Sir, you do not have permission to search my car. Now, what you should know is the Constitution actually limits how and when the police can search you, your car, your bag, your home. If during a search the police violate these limits, your lawyer can request that the evidence found is in violation of the Constitution and it can be thrown out in court. Now, it's called the Exclusionary Rule. Evidence illegally obtained in violation of someone's constitutional right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures can be excluded. What is that? 4, I believe. But freedom from unreasonable search and seizure. That's extremely important. But a lot of people, they make that mistake where the cop is putting a little pressure. I know it's a nerve-wracking situation. But if you just throw your hands up and you're just like, all right, fine. Go ahead. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I got all day to do this. Then you're giving them consent. It's something when they're looking at that, you can't tell the context of that when you're in court. So give yourself the opportunity to fight this in court. Never take a sobriety test, and don't let them search the car. And now remember that. And if you have questions about it, leave comments below. And now I know Louisiana did this, and I'm also just outside of Chicago, so I'm much more familiar with Chicago law. But again, consult an attorney. But if you have questions or you need me to guide you to an attorney, I have a lot of connections, especially with old fraternity brothers, where you can really kind of tell them how it is. But there's a lot of things a lot of information you simply can't find. But remember, the law applies limitations to how long the police can detain you under a variety of circumstances. And it's important to know some of the terminology here. Being detained is different than being arrested, okay? being detained is something that's temporary detention, which is included, like most encounters are when the police pull you over. Okay, that's considered a detention. When you're arrested, they typically call for backup. They have you step outside of the vehicle and you're going in handcuffs. Now, when the police do detain you, or when they haul you off to jail, now it's important to remember this. The Supreme Court of the United States has said that the police can only detain a motorist for as long as is reasonably necessary to issue the citation. So if they detain you longer than that, it's in violation of the Constitution. Again, all of this, I know it's a lot of information, and a lot of people don't have to go over this with their kids. But remember, this is checkers. It's not chess. This is a game, and we're actually playing with your life. Okay, so remember this. If you're given a ticket by the police, just sign the ticket. Go home. You get a lot of these guys and they're like, man, I ain't signing nothing. That's admission of guilt. I know my rights. I ain't signing nothing. Bro, it doesn't really matter. You're already there. This is a record of what happened during this stop. Sign the ticket. You can always fight the charges later. Your biggest concern right now is getting home safely. Your parents, your relatives, your friends, a lawyer, they can all discuss your options after you arrive in one piece. And, keep in mind, this is great information, but you have to, it's your bedside manner, man. It's how you approach this. For some reason, the police get very upset when you seem to know more about your rights or an equal amount of information as the officer. They just, I've noticed they always seem to ask qualifying questions, right? They always have that backup, like, where'd you go to school? Oh, you think I don't know the law? I'm like, well, no, you're an officer. You're enforcing the rights, but you're not like creating law. I expect you to be familiar with all of this, but of course you can't say that, especially with the, they're trying to do the who's this bigger fight, right? And you're not going to win the fight, especially with these arrogant, formerly bullied, I love the power, look at me now, I got a motorcycle and I can get girls because I'm a cop face. It's important to just let him have his little time. Oh, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Anything I can do for you? Want me to dance for you? No, but you just tell him, thank you, be polite, don't get out of your car, don't get loud, sign the ticket and be gone. It's important to know, as much as these cops will try to make you, they are not the jury, they are not the judge. They have very limited legal experience, okay? You're not going to argue, but this happened in a car and the light. Just sign the ticket and live to fight another day with someone that's actually knowledgeable enough to understand your rights, where you can get a lot of this information thrown out. And for you guys that are driving around dirty, warrants or whatever it might be, remember when they pull you over and you're on the E-way or you're on the street, they're going to tow that car, bro. They're going to tow your car and it's a couple $100, and then they hit you with that first 24-hour nightly, fee like it's a hotel or something. So I do say, hey, we've all been there. You got to make trips. If you got to do something, I'm not saying you should do it, but make sure you got somebody with you that can drive the car home. You know what I'm saying? If you get pulled over. What's the other thing? You want to make sure also that, hey, if you're driving, you're just on the city streets of Chicago and you're getting pulled over and you know you don't got a license, right? And damn, they're about to tow my car. You got to make a couple quick choices. One, you got to call the closest family member, right? Your girl, your sister, baby mama, your dad, mom. You got to let them know what's going on and let them know that, hey, if I don't call you in 10 minutes, call county. I think I'm getting picked up for driving without a license. Tell Uncle Mario to pick up the kids. Yo, call my mama. Hey, we've all been there. It's okay, man. But just remember, get a chance. Make that call. If somebody needs to pull out money for you, make sure they have the password or know where your money is. Shoot out a quick text to a few people to get together, people you can trust on. people you can trust. It's when you have nobody looking for you that these kind of things can get out of hand. So if you're right there in Chicago and you see you can park the car without creating a scene and making it look like you're running, man, park the car. Save yourself $500 from getting it towed. They're not going to move it, then tow it, right? They're not going to tow it and be searching all through your stuff. So, little tips and tricks, man. Again, it's these are small things. And remember, if you're arrested, don't resist. In most states, there's laws against resisting arrest, even if it is an illegal arrest. Yeah, that makes sense, right? But again, ask for a lawyer immediately and use the right to remain silent. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully it'll come in handy, and I'll do some more of this, as you can see from my chalkboard in the back. I love consulting with people about their rights and knowing what to do during a traffic stop, knowing how to act. And just remember, you just always put yourself in the mind of a cop. And I know it's kind of hard to do, but they're always concerned about their safety. So the first thing I do, if I'm getting pulled over, I turn on my interior lights and I lower all of my windows. I normally drive big SUVs, Escalades, Suburbans, Hummer, right? So I want to lower my window so they can see in the car, they can see there's not a threat. They can see what's going on in the car, and it just relaxes them when they have that. And they can't really ask you to do that. I imagine they could. They might get some feedback or pushback. But just, lower your windows, turn on the lights, have your documentation ready. Don't make any sudden moves. And remember, your right to remain silent. And if you're under the age of 18, or I guess 17, in Chicago, ask for your parent. And if you're over 18, ask for a lawyer, even if you don't have a lawyer, right? In most cases, a lawyer or a public defender will be assigned to you. But even if you don't have one, when you ask for a lawyer, it puts an immediate stop on what's going on. They're not allowed to go over anything else with you. And if you can, have some way of recording in your vehicle. I'll put a link below. This is something I use. It's great. It allows you to record the inside of the vehicle, front and back of the vehicle. It's just extremely important. 20, 40, 50 bucks. If you got kids, teenagers, or even yourself out there, and you're driving around and you're a minority, or you're at additional risk or getting pulled over, or whatever it might be, man, spend an extra 40 bucks or whatnot and have something in your car that can protect you and protect your rights. So stay safe out there, everyone. See you guys on the next episode of Blackish University.